You're listening to Finders Keepers on WHPK Chicago 88.5 FM. Rhea, are you in LA? Can we hear you?
I am.
Say anything into the mic.
Hello. My name is Rhea. I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California for this very special edition of Finders Keepers.
For some reason, I can't hear you too well in the studio. Do you mind? Are you close to the... Okay, DJ Erick says it's very... Okay, you know what? I can just hold...
It's clear?
The phone in one hand, and yeah. So we have confirmation that we can hear both of us. Great to hear.
Awesome!
Okay, so Rhea, do you want to introduce our show? You know what we do around here?
Yeah, so Finders Keepers is a public affairs show on WHPK 88.5 FM. We do a musical interview every single week, usually with a guest, but sometimes it's just me and Leia. And we talk about a few songs that every guest loves and why they love it, how they found it, why they keep it around in their life, and maybe we hope to get other people to start listening to those songs too. This week it's just me and Leia, which I think is fitting because we're not in our usual setup, you know. We're not both in Chicago, but we really missed doing the show last week, and so we couldn't let it pass by.
Yeah, no, it was also an opportunity for us to do our first West Coast, Midwest show, so it's pretty exciting stuff, and I'm glad to see that it's been working out for the last 2 minutes. Well, we should go ahead and get started. Rhea, I know you have a song ready. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think yours should go first.
Okay, I do have a song.
Yeah, and it's no other than the fabulous Joni Mitchell, who I think many of our listeners are huge fans of, including DJ Erick Hampton. And yeah, so we'll go right into that. Do you want to introduce the song, say anything specific about it?
Yeah, so this is Free Man in Paris by Joni Mitchell. It's on the album Court and Spark, which I've been listening to a lot of this summer. I'm kind of a newer Joni Mitchell fan, and I've just been really excited about listening to more of her music, and so I wanted to play it on air today.
Wait, it feels so strange not having you right here, but I'm hearing your voice, and you know what? That's what matters. That's what our listeners hear. And I'm so sad that you're not here, but I'm so excited we still get to chat a little bit about Free Men in Paris. Okay, so this is Free Men in Paris by Joni Mitchell. Enjoy.
Trying to be a good friend of mine. I was a free man in Paris. I felt unfettered and alive. There was nobody calling me up for favors, and no one's future to decide. You know I'd go back there tomorrow, but for the work I've taken on, stoking the star maker machinery behind the popular song. I deal in dreamers and telephone screamers. Lately I wonder what I'd do it for. If I had my way, I'd just walk through those doors and wander down the Champs-Elysees, going cafe to cabaret, thinking how I'll feel when I find that for favors. No one's future to decide. You know I go back there tomorrow before the work I've taken on, stoking the star maker machinery behind the popular song.
You're listening to WHPK Chicago 88.5 FM. My name is Leia. Is Rhea on the line? Oh, are you there?
I am there.
Okay, fantastic. I couldn't hear you at first. And this is our first semi-virtual version of Finders Keepers. West Coast, Best Coast, arguably. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but, you know, Rhea and I can have that conversation another time. Yeah. And this was just Freeman in Paris by Joni Mitchell.
Yeah. This song I first heard as I was watching Girls, the TV show on HBO. And I immediately was like, who sings this? I love this song. Oh my god, how do I listen to every other song like it? Hence my little Court and Spark obsession this summer. I really, like, had never understood, or more like I was really unaware of Joni Mitchell's musical style, and maybe that's kind of bad because I feel like she's a really influential person, obviously. I mean, I'd heard of her, I heard a few of her songs, but I didn't really know the full length of her discography, just how much music she's written. And I just have found that this album is, I just love how it makes me feel. Like, it's so fun. I feel like it, like, digs deep into my chest and through my lungs. Like, I don't know. It's been a really, really good listen, and like some of my favorite songs this summer have been from that album, like Car on a Hill, and I also really like
Race on Robbery.
Yes, Race on Robbery is so good. I just like, I feel like she has so much musical diversity while keeping this really consistent voice that she has, and I just find it so cool. I kind of want to ask you, Leia, about like how Joni Mitchell has influenced your taste, because I know that you listen maybe a little bit more to her than I do, and I'm like so jealous that you've been listening to her for longer than I have.
That's oh my god, way to turn the tables on me. No, I think these sort of, I wouldn't say older Joni Mitchell, or sorry, newer Joni Mitchell albums, but like mid to late 70s albums, honestly I'm a little bit less familiar with those. I think my introduction to her was honestly like her first few albums, like Clouds or like Ladies of the Canyon, things like that. I think I grew up both, well, my dad kind of introduced me to her, I guess. Oh, Songs to a Seagull is like her first big album, and so that's a different Joni. I think that's a Joni that like she's obviously still very poetic in her later albums and everything like that, but she has this like funk to her, and she has this rhythm to her that wasn't really there early on. Like, I think she really embraced, I don't know, like the idea of working like through multiple genres, or like working without a genre. And early on it's a lot more folky, like storytelling, that I think that still continues. That's like the undercurrent of her work, but with this like these strong tracks, with this strong like I don't know, kind of snappy rhythm and everything like that kind of gets added on. And I think, I genuinely do believe she's, like, the basis for, like, any singer-songwriter to emerge in, like, the last 50 years. I don't know if that's, like, a hyperbole or anything like that, but, like, she does her own thing. She there's no one like her, vocally, rhythmically, anything like that. Like, she plays the guitar so differently than other people do. Fun fact, because she contracted polio when she was a little kid, and so she had to use these alternate tunings to sort of figure out how to play the guitar with her hands. So, like, that, like, something like that, she's always doing her own thing. She's always innovating, and I like how she sort of wasn't afraid to, like, dive head on into these really fun tracks. I don't know. That's my take. I don't know if that's... Yeah.
And I think fun is such a good way to describe it. I think, like, this will sound so wrong, but as in, like, I don't even know how, like, in what way it would be wrong, but when I think about her, I think about like westerns. Like, I think about Western movies. I think about, like, I don't know why, but, like, the gold rush in California. And I also think about, like, if I'm thinking visually, I think about, what is it called? Godspell, the musical. I think about, like, that kind of vibe, you know, flowing dresses and like minerals and natural materials. I don't know why I think about that, but I had the same thought when actually when I had the show with our guest Mott Cara, and Mott Cara played a Linda Perhacs song. I was talking to Mott about kind of their musical influences, and also specifically that Linda Perhacs really sounded like, in my opinion, Joni Mitchell from the little Joni Mitchell that I had heard. And one thing I loved about Linda Perhacs was this use of really flowery and fun imagery. It is kind of just like a romanticization of things you see, like, in your everyday life. Just, you know, explaining the trinkets that you see on your walk, or making a stroll sound like it's the most fun activity ever. And I think that Joni Mitchell makes, like, I listen to her when I'm walking and when it's sunny outside. And I said this a few days ago, but another album I've been listening to a lot is Solar Power by Lorde, which makes me feel a similar way. It's like music for walking, and it's music for the sun, because it has such, like, a pulsing rhythm to it, even though it's not like a dance beat. So this has really been one of those songs that's just kept me on the pulse of the sidewalk.
No, I really resonate with that. I also, just to add on to that, I think that a word that sort of comes to mind when I think about Joni Mitchell, specifically not only the way that, like, her music and, like, her voice sort of makes you feel, but in her lyrics, there's this, I mean, the word that comes to mind is, like, freedom. And I think that a lot of her songs sort of play around with the subjects of, like, well, relationships and women and, like, their lives and, like, their inner lives, etc. And I think that I'm thinking about a couple songs specifically. Cactus Tree, I don't know if you're familiar with that one. And I've really been liking this one called The Gallery. And so a couple of these songs, like, they play around with, like, the relationships that, like, women go through in their lives, and like, all the troubles that they go through, but sort of and they sort of come around to this, like, this realization, or, like, this thesis that, like, in the end, like, there's nothing, or, like, in Cactus Tree, she says, well, she's busy being free. Like, that's, like, the main chorus that she goes back to over and over again. And I think you can feel that in her music, this sort of like relentless, like, I don't know, freedom that's just like all over the place, whether it be like her sound or her lyrics or like the way that she conducted her life too. I don't know. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, also like freedom, as in like this song is called Free Man in Paris.
Yeah.
In this song specifically, she is kind of explicitly writing in a way that she's trying to convey freedom. I was trying to find the episode of Girls that it came from, because that show was like how I found this song, and it was just also a very, I don't know, I wouldn't say that that's a really impactful show on me, but it was like a little bit of an obsession for a while.
But yeah, no, I really resonate with literally everything that you said. Yeah, I'm also thinking of another song that I recently have been loving, specifically with Joshua Payne. We've been talking about this song.
Oh.
It's called Woman of Heart and Mind, and it's off of For the Roses, so a little bit earlier in 1972. But it has this same sort of... Oh, no, actually, I think this is different. I think here she's still trying to bargain with, like, these men and these people in her life, but, like, and she's still trying to, like, trying to see, like, why are they trying to make her sort of, like, fit into a box, etc. But I think by the time that you get to the later albums, she's just sort of gone all out. Like, she doesn't care anymore. And also, I think that goes to, like, it exemplifies sort of some of the, like, quintessential 60s energy that, like, we're, I don't know, starting to, like, culturally, like, go to the mainstream, like, these ideas of freedom, everything like that was happening politically, culturally, everywhere. Like, that was oozing everywhere. And I think she just shows that specifically. And I love... her lyrics are so good. It's crazy, Rhea. I know that you're not a lyric girl, but I urge everyone to listen to a Joni Mitchell song and then just, like, read the lyrics as, like, a poetry sheet. Yeah.
No, it does. The commentary about kind of when it was written, like, this music does feel really fit for its time. Like, the 70s, like, this feels like, yeah, like, I would see this, again, I'm using so many media references because it's my only, like, it wasn't music, it was, like, TV that I grew up on. And, like, I could so see, like, this being in the background of, like, that 70s show, you know, like, and it probably was, you know, it definitely probably was. And I'm, like, literally dying to hear the gallery or... like all of the, because now that you're giving me these songs, I'm like, I know where to go.
No, I can be your, actually no, honestly, Stella Anderson can be your Joni Mitchell guy, and she's the quintessential Joni Mitchell woman. She's actually going to see her in October, which I'm really excited about for her.
Oh my god.
She's flying out with her mom, which I'm so jealous, but also I know that she'll have an amazing time. No, yeah, I think, honestly, I get so much of my music from watching movies and TV shows. I think we've talked about this before, but, like, there's something about, that's honestly where I get, like, I'd say a good, like, 20 to 30% of my music, and the people that do it, or the people that are tasked with that job, they do a fantastic job, because it fits the characters and it fits these people so much, like, it's insane that they, like, I don't know, have curated it to, like, just so much respect. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I think it's really interesting that you paired this with solar power, or, like, sort of are comparing it to that, because I really see it now.
I think I just have a tendency to put every song that I'm listening to at the same time in the same category, which is crazy to do. But I don't know, like, my artists like this summer that have been on repeat are Joni Mitchell, Lorde, and Maggie Rogers, and it's the only criteria, as I've said a few times already, is like I can walk to it and it reminds me of sunshine. Because, you know, I feel like living in Chicago, you have to savor the sunshine so much and you have to appreciate it so much, because I take it so much for granted back home in Los Angeles because it's here all the time. And if a song reminds me of the sun, I know I have to keep it so that I can lock it away and bring it back out in the winter. So maybe that's why. It's a really broad criteria, but I think it is a good one to have here.
No, I agree. Wait, I'm gonna need, Rhea, your curated sun playlist for darker times, honestly. No, I mean, I'm just reading a little bit right now on like her Spotify page, and it says that her first, like, obviously she was well known in like the folk scene in LA specifically, but her first like real like top 10 hit was Help Me and Free Men in Paris. So that seems to be the moment where she kind of was like pushed into the mainstream, or like at least in a way that wasn't seen before, which I think is really interesting, because when I think of Joni, I think of earlier albums, but I think it makes sense that like these albums that have this like kick and like, I don't know, kind of jazziness to them are the ones that like really made it.
Yeah. I mean, it is like, I think this definitely does like lean more into being popular music, which I love, because I mean, I'm glad that she made music that could reach such a wide range of people, because it's so good.
I know. I think that there's a lot of like folk purists out there, like musical purists, that like I guess would disagree with us, but I mean, she sort of is making me think of someone like Maggie Rogers. That's kind of a stretch, but like someone who grew up with folk music and grew up learning folk and still sees that as like an important part of like her musical soul or whatever, but also added like this whole new thing. I mean, in terms of Maggie Rogers, it's like house music and like dance. But in terms of Joni, I don't think it's that different, honestly.
Yeah.
I've just been listening to a lot of Maggie Rogers, if you can't tell.
It's okay, like me always.
Any last things to say on this song? Any last, I don't know, questions, musings, brilliance from Rhea?
Oh my God, it's all you. I think I just wanna listen. I like this. I'm gonna listen. I do think I'm gonna listen to this song until I'm very old. Like I think, and I hope I do.
Yeah, my version of that is You Turn Me On, I'm a Radio. I've been listening to it for like probably like 3 years now on repeat, and it hasn't gotten old yet. It just it's so fun. Like it puts me in such a good mood no matter what. And honestly, that's what I need right now. It's like
it's going on my list right now.
It's very light. If that's it, I don't know. We should probably only have 30 minutes left.
Song?
The next song. Okay, I was debating between a few, but I think I figured out which one I want to do. I haven't played her on the show, actually, which I'm surprised by. It's Courtney Barnett and Depreston by Courtney Barnett. So we'll just go
I'm so excited.
I wish I had told you earlier, Rhea, but I guess we're going in blind. I don't know.
No, I love going in blind.
Okay. I'm going to shut off your mic for now, but we'll be back in a second. This is Depreston by Courtney Barnett.
I guess it wouldn't hurt us. We don't have to be around all these coffee shops. Now we got that percolator. Never made a latte greater. I'm saving $23 a week. to a house in Preston. We see police arresting a man with his hand in a bag. How's that for first impressions? This place seems depressing. It's a Californian bungalow in a cul-de-sac. It's got a lovely garden, a garage for 2 cars to park in, or a lot of room for storage if you've just got one. And it's going pretty cheap, you say? Well, it's a deceased estate. Aren't the pressed metal ceilings great? Then I see the handrail in the shower, a collection of those canisters for coffee, tea and flour, and a photo of a young man in a van in Vietnam. And I can't think of floorboards anymore, whether the front room faces south or north, and I wonder what she bought it for.
You're listening to WHPK Chicago 88.5 FM, the pride of the South Side. I'm Leia.
I'm Rhea.
And this is Finders Keepers. Yeah.
Yeah. Finders Keepers across coast. I mean, I don't know, we're in the Midwest, but...
No, across the coast. I mean, we're not that far from the East Coast right now, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, that was Depreston. I really like this song. I think I recently revisited it for the first time after kind of having had Courtney Barnett like in my rotation for like many years now, I'd love to hear your thoughts, Rhea. Like, I don't want to take up all the time. I want to hear your thoughts, Rhea.
No, I mean, I definitely want to hear what you have to say. At first, when I was listening, I was playing it on Spotify, but I also had the WHPK.org player going, and so there was this delay, and I thought it was just part of the real song. and it was like an overlay of, it was just like a severe echo. And I was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. But I was a little bit weirded out, and then I figured it out. And then my immediate thought was, wow, like, it is so easy to tell when somebody probably considers themselves a songwriter first.
Yeah, the thing I mean, other than, like, her sound, I'm obviously a sucker for, like, any sort of indie rock, but the thing I really like about her is that she turns these sort of, like, moments of, like, really mundane, like, daily things, and her lyrics often seem, like, pretty ridiculous, into something a lot more than just that. She writes a lot about, like, random objects and little things and gardens and coffee and things like that. And eventually, like, if you really listen closely, you realize that it's building up to, like, something a lot stronger than just that. And it took me, this realization, I guess, didn't really hit at first for this song specifically. I think the first song I heard by her was Avant Gardener, which is, like, one of her most, I don't know, well-known songs.
Oh,
but
I've heard that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty well-known. I love her Australian accent. It cracks me up every time.
Oh,
I don't
my
know
God.
why. Just having that in the song, I love it. But this song, I was listening actually to a Song Exploder episode about this song last week.
Oh my God, such a good show. Everyone should go listen to that podcast.
It's so good. I genuinely could not stop listening to episodes. But this one, like, really stopped me in my tracks. Because she comes on and she talks about it. And basically it's about she was going house hunting with her girlfriend in Australia. I mean, obviously she's from Australia. In this suburb area called Preston. And she goes to this house in Preston. Okay, I feel like I'm just recounting what happened in the song. She goes to this house in Preston and basically sees this woman's house who, it's like a deceased estate, so, like, the woman died and left behind basically all her stuff, and she's, like, going through the house looking at these objects, sort of wondering, like, this was, like, I don't know, like, a full life here. This is, like, someone's, I don't know, entire story just kind of, like, placed in these objects, and she's sort of wondering about, like, her own life and, like, her own mortality. And that's what, like, I feel, I don't know, I had been listening to this song for literally years on repeat, more because I liked the sound than anything else, like, the way it fades out, the like, repeated guitar riff, and then hearing these, like, or whatever, hearing the, like, actual meaning behind the lyrics was just so crazy to me. I don't know, I didn't really think about it before. Yeah.
No, this definitely reads like a real story. I mean, the details are just so specific. I'm looking at the lyrics right now, and it's a Californian bungalow in a cul-de-sac. It's got a lovely garden, a garage for 2 cars to park in. Like, that is so pointed, and it's just like, I was looking at her album cover for this album, and it says, sometimes I sit and think, and sometimes I just sit. And I feel like that is very, like, it makes sense that, like, what draws you to her is this kind of, I don't know, explanation or description or, like, expose on the objects that she sees in her life. You know, like, the thing that people love to do is, like, people watch, and, like, that is when, like, people sit and think all the time, and like, I know me and my friends, like, loved people watch, but, like, she's object watching when she sits and thinks, and that's kind of cool too. Also getting, like, that I feel like is this is kind of what I was trying to get at with when I was comparing like Joni Mitchell and Linda Perhacs, kind of just like bringing this whimsy, or I guess kind of like sadness, bringing emotion to like the inanimate objects around you. I wonder, Leia, like, I know you listen to, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit of Kimya Dawson, and like this kind of reminds me of her as well.
Yeah. No, yeah. It does have that kind of like silly, like anti-folk playing around with like, I don't know, sometimes it feels like kids music in the best way possible. No hate to kids music. I love kids music. But like the subjects that she's playing around with seem so silly at first. That's sort of what drew me in. I thought she was funny. Like, that was like the first reason I started listening to her.
Oh, yeah.
I thought she was pretty funny. But she, like, I don't know, manages to, like, get to this topic of mortality in such a unique way where, like, she could have just said at the beginning of her song, like, oh my god, like, death, dying, whatever, but she kind of leaves that out, and the fact that she leaves that out is really, like, special to me. And the fact that it's sort of from the perspective of, like, this real estate agent who's asking her questions. Aren't the pressed metal ceilings great? And then she says, and I can't think of floorboards anymore, whether the front room faces south or north. So it's interesting. Like, she's trying to, I don't know, like, rebuild her life or, like, make a move on her life, but this big looming thing is sort of calling out to her, like, oh, this, like, nothing is permanent in this weird way. But then it's also, I don't think it's a depressing song, though. Like, that's what interests me about it. I mean, even though the title is a play on the word depression, the thing that's interesting about it is that it doesn't end on this note of, like, oh my god, everything will come to an end. Like, this woman died in this house and it's, like, over for me, too, in the future. No, it's this, I don't know, it's this understanding of that. But I think she, like, the way that it fades out too, like, she's sort of like, she's, I don't know, acknowledging that, but she's sort of like, you know, that's kind of how it goes. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, since you know this song a little bit more intimately, what is the lyric that first struck you when you first listened to this song that was like, oh, this is more than about a silly little house, or like, this is more than like the story that I thought I was hearing? Sorry, that's putting you on the spot.
No. I'm thinking. There's a few. I think I really like the lyrics, and I can't think of floorboards anymore, whether the front room faces south or north. And I wonder what she bought it for. I think that I wonder what she bought it for is kind of silly, because she's both sort of wondering about this person that used to live here, but she's also, like, kind of wants to know the real estate value of it, which kind of brings it back into, like, I don't know, this, like, lighter tone, or, like, almost, like, self-critical tone, because she's like, wait, I can't help but think about what this lady bought her house for, even though I'm, like, looking at all her, like, I don't know, left behind artifacts. Like, I thought that was interesting, because it sort of implicates her, I guess, or, like, she's...
Or maybe...
Yeah.
No, go ahead, sorry.
No, I wasn't going to say anything, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say that it kind of... I feel like she's playing with the idea that, like, yeah, she might be thinking about mortality and all those things, but, like, life precedes that always.
Yeah.
And, like, you can think about, like, life and death simultaneously. And like, it's kind of... It's not really... Like, it tracks that she's having both of these feelings at the same time, you know? Like, you can be curious about, like, your life there and also, like, their life there, but also have it make you feel this kind of undeniable depression.
Yeah, and I think that's I mean, the last lyric kind of really goes to what you just said. Like, if you've got a spare $500,000, you could knock it down and start rebuilding. And that's this sort of double entendre of, like, oh, you can knock down this house, you can knock down everything that was in it, and you can rebuild your life, or you can make it your own. And I think she plays around with that idea. Not that it's necessarily a negative thing, but like it's really intense to imagine, I don't know, someone, well, okay, this is honestly the reason I chose this song, I have to admit. It's very relevant to like something that's going on in my family.
Oh, yeah.
So like my grandma's house is getting sold in like September. So I took a little trip for a couple days last week to visit it for the last time. So it was, honestly, it was just like, it's been a song that I've listened to for a while now, but after sort of re-listening to it, I realized how, like, I don't know, relevant it is right now, because I was sort of tasked with, like, taking pictures of the house in its, like, I don't know, final, well, the final moments where it still sort of looks like my dad's childhood home and, like, where everyone grew up, and, like, there's still all these, like, little pieces of life. So, like, my dad basically flew me down there to take a couple rolls of photos, and also to visit my family, but that was a secondary thing. And we've been obviously thinking about, like, oh, who's gonna buy this? Like, who's gonna... There's been, like, this sort of deep anxiety about whether or not the person that buys the house is gonna knock it down.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, it's really intense. Sorry, like but I think this song kind of like, I guess it like brought me back down to earth, and I sort of realized that, like, even if, I mean, we're hoping that doesn't happen, but even if that does happen, like, I think, like, I can hold on to the idea that, like, a family is living there and, like, new people are making new memories, and, like, those are going to be gone one day too, obviously. And also that, like, I can, I don't know, hold the memories, like, in a different way. Yeah.
Right. I'm so excited to see more of your photo project on your grandmother's house. I already loved the ones that you posted on Instagram already.
Yeah, no, I think that, like, this was, the weird thing about it is that there was sort of, like, a delay in when I, like, obviously I was at her house and I was, like, thinking about it, but, like, after listening to this song, this was, like, last Wednesday or last Tuesday or something, that was when it was, like, oh my god, like, it really, like, I realized it for the first time, I guess, in retrospect. But I think it was really helpful. Like, I love her music, and it's great to, like, I don't know, find it in a new light, however depressing that might be. Yeah, no, I didn't want this to take, like, a dark tone, but...
No.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if there were, like, you already touched on some lyrics that stood out to you, but it seems like this song has kind of undergone, like, a transformation with this kind of trip being a before and after, and I'm wondering if there were parts of the songs that didn't really have a meaning to you before that when you listened to this song again kind of did, or were you reminded of this song because you were like, wow, this lyric has always meant this to me, and then on this trip you kind of realized, like, whoa, this is really relevant.
I think that for me, or at least earlier, the song was sort of about, like, rebuilding or, like, regenerating into, like, a new version of yourself. That's how I pictured it. I wasn't really paying attention. I think the last lyrics are the ones that, like, have always been, like, I don't know, have always played in my head over and over again, and the way they sort of fade. But I think it wasn't really, like, I think it's still about that, but the undercurrent of, like, or knowing what really inspired it, I think adds a lot to it. And I think a lot of it has to do with Courtney Barnett's, like, own state of mind. She talked about being, like, in between jobs at this moment, and she, like, wasn't doing well, and she kind of takes relief in the fact that, like, or she finds relief in the fact that, like, it's all sort of temporary, if that makes sense, or it's like these little things like are part of something larger. And I think that's honestly a really good way to think of it. I don't know. Not that like death is like not trying to say that like, yeah, okay, you know what I mean.
I think I do. But if you have more to say, like, you can obviously say it. But like now just thinking about, I just like can't stop looking at the lyrics because they just for some reason look so pretty. Like I think she uses really pretty words. She talks about like such short moments of time. Like the first verse, she starts by saying like, I'm saving $23 a week, and like this moment about like making a latte or like a police arresting someone. And then it kind of just like builds up into this whole history that's been in a house. Like she's wondering about such a long period of time versus like these short ones. And I think like when you're talking about, oh, who's going to move in and like who's going to like maybe fundamentally change the space that you're used to or that like you have a lot of ties to, like it's just so interesting to think about like all the little moments that are going to happen there. And like it's really hard to also, especially when you have a personal connection to it. But it does, like, I feel like this song, now that you've said that, I almost see it like, I know the name is a play on depression, but I almost see it as a bit hopeful and like a bit exciting.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, no, that's...
You could knock it down, and if you, like, the if, and the you could, and the start, like, those are all really exciting words, and also very, like, energy-filled words, and so, I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that at first it was, like, it was a lot to deal with, because I was like, whoa, like, this song, like, it had... whatever, I sort of like mundanely sort of played it in the background for so long, and then it all kind of hit me. But I think after having listened to it for like, I don't know, 10 times last week, I think that the ending really does feel positive, or it feels like, oh, or I don't know, this narrator, well, it's Courtney, she like sees a future. I don't know, or maybe she sort of sees her, I don't know, this could be a stretch, but maybe she sort of, like, sees that, like, oh, that could be me one day, like, a whole life or whatever reduced to, like, these objects, but she's, like, somehow okay with that, and,
yeah,
I don't know, that's a big thing to handle, but, like, she's so wise, it's crazy.
She's so wise, it is crazy.
No, yeah, I mean, that's sort of what drew me into her music. These really silly, like, punchy lyrics about, like she'll, I don't know, she would write a song about, like, I don't know, bleaching an old t-shirt, and it would somehow turn into, like, a meditation on, like mortality and death and, like, people. And, like, I just love that. Like, I think she's fantastic. And she's, like, not doing anything that anyone else is doing. Yeah.
I mean, you talked about, like, humor, and I always wonder, like, do artists, like, do they tend to use the lines they find funny? Or, like, how much of this song does Courtney Barnett giggle at, you know, when she was writing it? Like, I always wonder about that. And like, you're right, it doesn't feel like she's doing anything, because it feels like she's just telling a story, and, like, that story is so able to bring out so many emotions in you. So it's like, it's not like she seems like a master picker of stories, maybe than like a curator, and like how to tell it, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is bringing me back to Joni, because they're both really, I don't know, storytellers in their own way. They like bounce from place to place in one song, and they like bring you to they're very vivid. They're both very vivid in the way that they, like, describe things. Like, I also feel like I'm watching a movie when I'm listening to her music. And I think that's what's so special about both of them. I don't know. Not to tie it all in or anything like that, but yeah.
No, I mean, perfect timing. We're coming up to the hour. I'm going to listen to more of her. I've actually, added this entire album to my songs.
No, a lot of her songs are a lot rockier and, intense and stuff. But she also has a lot of great, simple acoustic things. So, yeah, she's very versatile. Yeah. Our first bi-coastal journey into music. You've been listening to WHPK Chicago 88.5 FM, the Pride of the South Side. I'm Leia.
I'm Rhea.
This was
Finders Keepers.
Tune in again next week, 11 a.m. CST, 9 a.m. Los Angeles, for more musical stories, musical fun, songs, laughs, friends, family, anything.
And a new guest.
Should we close with a song? I think I know what I'm going to choose.
I'm so excited.
Well, let's see if this works. Actually, first of all, I was trying to get some Joni on. We have been Finders Keepers. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Downtown, my darling dime store thief. In the War of Independence, rock and roll rang sweet as victory. Under neon signs, a girl was in bloom, and a woman was fading in a suburban room. I said, take me to the dance. Do you wanna dance? I love to dance. And I told him, they don't take chances. They seem so removed from romance. They've been broken in churches and schools and molded to middle class circumstance. And we were rolling, rolling, rock and rolling. Downtown, the dance halls and cafes feel so wild you could break somebody's heart just doing the latest dance craze. Gail and Louise in those push-up brassiers, tight dresses and rhinestone rings, drinking up the band's beers. Y'all was kissing under bridges, kissing in cars, kissing in cafes. And they were walking down Main Street, kisses like bright flags hung on holidays. In France they kiss on Main Street, amour, mama, not cheap display. And we were